Oh yeah, 3 This Situation is Crazy titles in a week. Let's see if we can get 10 in a row, eh? And look, I'll stop using this algorithm cheat code when YouTube stops rewarding it. Until then, it's going to be used so that you can learn something that isn't mindless gossip for once. After this, do you see who Trump's got advising him? Laura Longlegs Loomer. What's she bringing to the table? Maybe she's bringing someone to something under the table. In case I wasn't clear, Trump to orgasm. Now, imagine Trump coming for a little longer. What sounds do you think he makes? I think he makes this sound. Oh. But we don't know. The only thing we do know for sure is that they'll be a hell of a lot louder if I was advising Trump under the table instead of Laura Loomer. Come on, just give me a job. But how is this free spirit possibly helping him? Oh, she's responsible for the amazing "they're eating the dogs" line at the debate. Too little, too late. Yet another reason why Trump needs me. I'm the vanguard. I was on the hyperbolic claims of immigrants eating neighborhood animals months ago. In this video, look at me. I'm out on the scene showing everyone that he was right to bring it up. And now Trump has lost what he desperately needs. Unified support from the best people on earth. Yay, Milo, Nick Fuentes. You hear about this Nick Fuentes guy? He says he's going to be doing a Groyper War 2 on Trump for not being America first enough. From what I can gather, Groyper War is where his supporters line up in suits at conservative conferences and ask questions of mainstream Republicans about Israel and immigration. You say you're America first, but what about all the money you give to Israel? My answer I'd give to Trump if I was advising him: I'm sorry, little Nicky, I don't speak Dago. We could neutralize that shit so quick. We'd do Groyper War 3 on Nick Fuentes for being a wog. Oh, boo-hoo, you've been deplatformed and you can't go to bank. We care about American jobs. This movement's called America First, not wogs out of work. I'm sorry for being too online, but you saw Trump at the debate. He's too online too. He needs help. He's flailing. He can't even pick a lane. Get me to Mar-a-Lago. I'll help him run a focus campaign. None of this pluralistic nativism. We're going to go full founding fathers. No more Catholics. Trump, you get asked a hairy question about abortion, ignore it. Pivot. You know who doesn't like abortions? Catholics. Joe Biden's a Catholic, and look at how creepy he is. Crashed a perfect economy. You know who else is Catholic? The Mexicans. Groyper's neutralized. Tick. Abortion position strategically ambiguous. Tick. Victory. Tick. Get me on the campaign. And by the way, this isn't some sneaky get around of pretending to be edgy and racist, but only picking on a subsection of white people that wokesters are cool with you picking on. I have a proven track record of bullying Italians to their mental breaking point. Okay? But I get it. Enough racism. What I really need to start getting into is ableism. So this video is about the National Disability Insurance Scheme. Enjoy! Well, we got there in the end with justifying the title. Now, if you can't figure out what the NDIS is from context clues, maybe you should apply to be on it, mate. But maybe you won't be allowed to, thanks to Bill Shorten's latest reforms. Over the decade of neglect from the self-proclaimed conservative economic managers, the Libs, the NDIS became this gigantic, exponentially growing pool of money, almost a mini black economy in itself, that was exploited by everyone from organised crime pretending to be disability care providers to me. I'm faking autism just to get checks. Now do you understand why I wasted half the video on Groyper references and 20 minutes on a Shapes review last week? It was necessary to keep up the payments. In fact, it was estimated that nearly 5% of the scheme is spent in error. That's $2 billion. $2 billion a year, or over $5 million a day on fraud. That's enough to feed your mum for half a day. Providers could even invoice the scheme without an ABN. In some cases, they push participants to use the scheme to purchase illegal drugs. It was the Wild West. Instead of steeds, wheelchairs. Instead of lassos, those pulley hoists to lift mobile people out of bed. That's actually not true, because that would be perfectly valid costs for the NDIS, and it's not disabled people exploiting the scheme. It's Catholics. Let's be real, it's the 21st century, it's libs. As well as any old idiot who wants free money, listen to this story.
An unemployed Ocean Grove man has been jailed for stealing more than $300,000 by pretending to mow lawns for people with a disability.
This guy stole $300,000 from the NDIS and said in court, thinking it would be a mitigating factor, it was 'cause he was bullied for being fat. Now, to be fair, that kind of did work for Barilaro, but come on, at least make it so if you want to scam the NDIS, you can't literally be mentally disabled. You have to be smarter than that man. That's what Bill Shorten, like any remotely competent minister, is doing. He saw this fraud and waste at the expense of not only Australian taxpayers, but really the disabled. and launch some reforms. Reforms to rein in criminal exploitation of the scheme to make it sustainable in the long term. These were not austere Thatcherite reforms either. They're legit, simple things such as, you want to be a disability services provider? Okay. Can you prove that you're a real person? Can you give us an ABN? Can you show us you're working with children check?
What's wrong with asking that everyone who's driving someone, that we see their driver's licence and that they've got car insurance? What's wrong with asking that if you're going to work with kids, that you've got to work in with children's check? In fact, what's wrong with asking, are you a real person and do you exist?
She'd like clarifying, sorry, you can't get the NDIS to pay for your OnlyFans subscription. Though there might be an exemption if your disability is chronic agony. You can't claim vapes, alcohol, jewellery, fortune telling, Reiki healing, aromatherapy, cuddle therapy. Actually, that is BS. Bill, can you put tarot reading back on the scheme? That way disabled people can know if their condition's going to be permanent or temporary. It'll help you budget better. I could start up as a provider, advertise play therapy for people with Down syndrome, charge a government hundreds of thousands of dollars, and the play therapy is just tying up 100 people with Down syndrome, putting them under a big tarp in a big field and seeing where the tarp goes to satisfy my own curiosity. What? You Twitter types are gonna say I'm punching down? Syndrome. No, seriously, sorry. I promise I'm not punching down. Because these people with Down syndrome in my joke are also rich white men. And if that's not enough, some are Nazis. In response to these reforms, the Greens have been running the most disingenuous opportunistic campaign since, well, pick any other issue they whinge about, really. I mean, that's all they do now. They used to at least wedge the major parties on specific issues to try and extract pro-environment outcomes. Now they just ratchet up professional managerial excesses and language policing of labour and then scream and block any reform that benefits working people just so they can turn around and say, this government hasn't, passed anything that's benefiting working people. Look at their website. Their electoral platform includes end sexism, and building an anti-racist society. That's what's so disappointing. You'd think for a party that never has to deal with the realities of governing, they'd at least have creative and effective messaging that has a chance to set an agenda. They could at least be like a Bernie Sanders figure that has constructive and focused criticism, get maybe one amazing concession. But instead, their messaging is now just appealing to the narcissistic impulses of those that live with the luxury of never having to deal with the consequences of their own actions. Their politics is now just a sick form of therapy.
Not funded by the NDIS, thanks to shortage reforms.
Sloganeering designed to displace the guilt, shame and neurosis of those people who live surrogate lives. When it's not that, it's just disingenuously campaigning against everything Labor does. I get campaigning against some things, but fucking everything? Look at this. Save our NDIS. From what? The guy that created the NDIS? I wish I could debunk this webpage, I really do, but it doesn't actually say anything. Just that there's a budget surplus, so Labor trying to make the NDIS sustainable is bad. Just use the surplus to pay for the criminal's fake claims. I actually can't believe how opportunistic this is. This is a new low even for the Greens. The NDIS is going to be receiving more funding than ever. It's growing every year. These are reforms designed to stem some of the completely unnecessary excesses of the scheme, taking measures to stop crime and spinning them as Labor's gutting the NDIS. They started spreading a lie that Labor's bill will stop disabled people from buying critical aid using, this is true, bespoke high-tech washing machines as an example of something Labor banned. This is despite disability experts even casting doubt on the idea that there are bespoke high-tech washing machines for the disabled. There are examples of fire alarms. People have specialised fire alarms that vibrate or have flashing lights to wake you up. Those sorts of things are critical. But whether there are high-tech washing machines and they're finishing their washing, that's hardly a life and death thing. You could just set the timer and go back in an hour. And there's a substitution clause in the bill that means that if someone really does need a bespoke high-tech washing machine, they can still get it. The Greens even went so far as to accuse NDIS's integrity and fraud chief of inventing a narrative of fraud just to support Bill Shorten's corked legislation. First off, guys, you senators, can you use grown-up language? Or at the very least, don't use ugly Triple J millennial words. At least go full senator payment.
To the Sigmas of Australia, I say that this goofy-air government have been capping. Not just now, but for a long time. A few of you may remember when they said there'll be no phantom tax under the government I lead. They're capaholics. They're also yapaholics.
Just keeps going on like that.
Skibbity.
Which again, Trump, hire me. I am the vanguard of political advising. A month ago, I was pleading for a different ex-Labor politician to start using brain rot vocab. I'm gonna go goon now. Secondly, I know that that was a big detour, but talk about actually making up a narrative. The NDIS fraud chief is lying in cahoots with the guy that made the NDIS just to fuck over the disabled. Because everyone's evil and cooked apart from the Greens, especially rich people, even though they are the Greens' main demo. Have the Greens ever said anything about the new bill cracking down on providers overcharging the disabled? Have they got a plan to tackle the organised crime that is exploiting the NDIS? No. But Trump does. Deport all Catholics, Trump 2024. And thank you, Bill Shorten 2024. Seriously though, honestly, Bill, thank you so much for your service over the years. The fact that you have been able to rein in such a complicated system as that does show what a loss it is going to be once you're gone.
Shorten NDIS.
Skibbity.
I don't know, is that too cringe?
Yes, but who cares?